defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on.
Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
No back into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh my
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
It's a journey that starts on the high banks of Daytona, but it takes you around the world across different disciplines of motorsports, but it lands here inside the Tulsa Expo Center to round off the calendar year for the iRacing special events with the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. For the 3rd time, we go racing indoors. Hello everyone and welcome along to RaceSpotTV and to the iRacing Esports Network. Once again, my name is Arjuna Kankipati, but I tell you what, I'm delighted this year to have a co-commentator alongside so my voice can be preserved. Joshua Lee, we are ready to get pretty down under in what is going to be a thrilling night of Alphabet Soup Racing.
And Arjuna, last year I was originally going to be with you for this one, but a sinus infection put me on the bench, so I'm happy to be here too, commentating my first iRacing Chili Bowl. But you mentioned the Alphabet Soup, you mentioned how we've gone through the entire season of 2022, through all the special events, and we kind of come to a culmination. You kind of said it very ceremonially, the high banks of Daytona, 2.5 mile oval there. This is a very short dirt, 0 banked oval that we're going to end the season on with these fantastically very quick sprint cars.
Oh, they are tough to tame. You're going to see wheelies. Let's run you down through what has been the back half of the year for this 2022 iRacing special event. We do it all. Dirt oval, dirt road, oval, and road. All 4 disciplines represented here, but today, the dirt oval drivers get their showcase in what has been a end-of-year celebration that has become a feature here on RaceSpotTV. And of course, we're only a handful of weeks away from doing it all over again in 2023. We'll talk more about that in a handful of moments' time. It has been a while since we've gone racing with one of these iRacing special events. Last time was with the Super Late model with the Winter Derby. But we mentioned Alphabet Soup. What does that really mean? This is a super session. Drivers have had their opportunities to race in virtual Chili Bowls through the course of the week. The top 60 in terms of points qualify for this, the super session, where there is one chance to work through qualifying, survive through the heats. If you're lucky, you then wait on the sides through the rest of the E, D, C, and B main before 20 drivers will lock on for 55 laps that will fly on by, Josh.
And 60 drivers are going to try and qualify for all of those 20 spots in the A main. But what makes this very unique, Arjuna, yes, top 3 will advance to that A main out of the heats. But then if you're stuck in the E main, you get top 4. You're not qualifying straight into the feature. Oh, no. You're qualifying for the D main. Then top 4 there qualify for the C main. Then the B. Then you get to the A. So if you get stuck in the E main, you're going to have a long climb ahead of you if you want to try and make that A main and beating some of iRacing's best.
This is an event that has so much history in the real world, and we are delighted that now for the 3rd year in a row, we may have a new winner standing inside the Tulsa Expo Center once we work our way through the about hour or so of racing that we've got in store for us. Qualifying will start now, and well, qualifying's more important than you'd think because it will set you up in terms of track position for which of the heats that you find your way in. Qualifying these beasts much easier said than done though, Josh.
it is very, very difficult to navigate these cars, and you get a little bit of help because these things are so quick. They naturally always want to pull to the left. You're almost always going to be going to the right, except for getting the car to try and break itself a little bit into the corner. But take a look at the two at Tyler Schell. You heard him get on that throttle, and immediately all the car wants to do is hook straight to the left. He's doing more correction over to the right than he is going to do all night long heading to the left.
It's constant momentum, basically, that you're managing. Schell only 12th provisionally. It is Bowman that sits at the top. Tiernan second, and Ethan Uwe, who was one of our standout names, really fighting at the front 12 months ago, provisionally down in third with our lap times. 10 seconds. They are very, very tricky laps to work your way through, and the times will come in thick and fast and not going to be split by much. The top 10 separated by just over a 1/10 of a second around this very tricky little dirt facility. We talk as well about Dirt Oval, and we've got therefore to talk about track evolution and how the lines are going to change as we work through the night.
We saw through only about 10 minutes of practice that it got to a point where the entire bottom groove had slicked over, a lot of rubber laid down into the dirt on the track, and then a reset heading into the qualifying session, giving it a little bit more life, a little bit more moisture, but it's just all going to dry back out and gain that line on the inside line again. This track doesn't really have, you know, the Eldora, the Knoxville type of different lines where you can run from the bottom to the top. It really is a bottom forward racetrack, and that means it's going to gloss over very quick, and the drivers very quickly as well going to have to look for more moisture somewhere on this racetrack.
Currently on top, Dylan Yeager in the recently concluded iRacing World of Outlaws Butt Kicker Late Model Championship. It's been great to have 2 World Championships return to the top level of the Dirt Oval ladder, and of course the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Championship will get underway shortly as well. Logan Rumsey slides his way forward into 6th in qualifying, our 2020 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals winner. 16 seconds to go. There's not much time for drivers to throw something onto the board. Regan Edwards with a 10.629 will work his way in towards the top 20, albeit just. We are delighted to have your company here on RaceSpotTV, but also on the iRacing Esports Network. Let us know where you're watching from, who you're cheering for, because Go Fast time is in the books. We are ready to go through the heats before we get into the alphabet soup. Which of the drivers can put their feet up and relax, knowing their spot in the feature is secure? 5th in the iRacing World of Outlaws Butt Kicker Late Model Championship for Dylan Yeager, but pole position here for the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals, Jet Barnes, Colton Key alongside with Regan Edwards, Ryan Avila, Jacob Reed, the rest of the top 6. It'll be Ryan Heckman, Alec Inslee, Patrick Rushton, and Joseph Shiles that round out the 10 cars in this first heat. And of course, the thing that I do love about Dirt Oval Racing is, despite the fact that some may think, Josh, it is a very regional sort of a motorsport, it is a global motorsport, and those from down under have come out to play.
It really is as big in Australia as it is here in the United States. And yes, maybe it is a little bit more regional in the United States. We see the World of Outlaws make its way out to the Midwest, but other than that, it really is a southeastern motorsport. But over in Australia, just as big as it is here. And a lot of some of the top level of iRacing dirt oval racers come from Australia as well. I think of Clayton Davies. I think of a lot of that Speed Shop Fit 51 team coming from the country of Australia and doing amazing at the top level as well.
I think Tim Ryan's going to be a little bit frustrated that as the iRacing World of Outlaws champion that you forgot to mention the Altus Esports driver. We haven't seen him around the last handful of years. He's been busy with some of his personal commitments. Hopefully, we'll see him back out on track. There are no expectations for an event like this, Josh. It's all about survival. And first up, it's 8 laps to survive.
And only the top 3 we're going to take through to the feature race off of this heat. Everybody else is going to get seeded into either the E, D, C, or B main before we reach that A main. So already a lot on the line.
Dylan Yeager, Jet Barnes, Colton Key, and Regan Edwards. Front 2 rows all looking to slide their way into the transfer spot. Yeager will punch the throttle, and we are underway inside for the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. Already a move attempted from Barnes. He looks to try and get to the race lead, but on board with Ryan Heckman, you see the treachery of dancing through these opening laps. Barnes still looks to slide his way through, but Yeager controls the point.
Bit of a wheel slam in the back as Alec Inslee loses a couple of spots, but they stay fighting up here at the front. This is for the transferring for the race lead. Barnes almost trying to get to the inside of Dylan Yeager, but that's just going to open the door now for Colton Key to go for that second spot.
But crucially, Edwards and Avila have started fighting as well. There's a couple of car lengths that have split second and third from fourth and fifth. Not fighting over the transfer positions, at least just yet. Already halfway through this first heat of the night, they are going to fly on by. Do not go anywhere. We'll be at the 55-lap feature before you know it. Yeager, though, has converted pole position to a dominant lead, and as it stands right now, he's got to survive 3 more laps, and he'll start on pole in the feature.
And Reagan Edwards right now is just trying to catch up to the back bumper of Colton Key. Remember what's at stake in this transfer battle, Arjuna. This could mean the difference between making the feature and being eliminated in one of our Alphabet Soup races as Dylan Yeager takes the white flag.
Not close enough, you'd have to assume, for Regan Edwards. Colton Key will just look to hold position, but at the front, from pole position in qualifying to pole position for the feature, Dylan Yeager will now have to wait and see who will challenge him at the front. A dominant performance from the number 3 machine to work his way immediately on through. Jet Barnes and Colton Key, the other two that, of course, will advance along with Yeager. But Edwards, Avila, Inslee, Reed, Heckman, Rushton, and Shields, the 7 that we'll see working their way through the Alphabet Soup. Already ready, though, for heat number 2. Cody Parmley alongside with Ethan Uwe, 2 of those that 12 months ago. They'll have Austin O'Neill and Aaron Walker behind, with Tyler Schell trying to roll from 5th position. Chad Sinner alongside that number 2 machine with Majeda and Gill 7 and 8 shown, and Allison bookend the 10 cars in the second heat of the night. Dirt racing is fast, frenetic, but what goes through the mind of the drivers, Josh, as they wait to go racing? I'm not so much thinking now about Dylan Yeager. I'm more thinking about those that are only going to go racing in the final heat of the evening.
Well, honestly, all they really can do right now is just watch how these drivers are racing and watch that track development. The track that we have right now here in Heat 2 is not the same track as we started with at qualifying, not the same track that is going to be raced in the next heat or the heat after that or in any of our E, D, B, or C mains later on tonight. The track is going to continue to develop, continue to wear out, and the drivers right now that are on the sideline in the stands watching these heat races right now, they just need to watch what the track is doing and modify their strategy for their heat race to get into that top 3, because ultimately right now that inside line is going to keep slicking off and it's going to keep drying out as well.
You did see that we saw Yeager try and time the start. Was not able to get the jump that he would have been hoping for. Will Cody Parmley be able to execute just that little bit better? Onto the power, though. Heat 2 underway, and while Parmley is able to take advantage and convert to the lead, Ethan Uwe already loses second. Austin O'Neill slides his way forward. A bit of a slide for Tyler Schell. He's down in 7th spot and now looking at fighting his way through the Alphabet Soup.
Rowan Gill made a little bit of contact with Tyler Schell as well. That slowed him up. And now a little bit slow as Chad Sinner is held back into Austin Major. And there goes Tyler Schell up and into 6th. The top 3 starting to pull away to the tune of 7/10 on the rest of the field.
Those top 3 will be looking just to ride as they are right now. Bit of a shove there from Schell to the back of Sinner. Bumper cars played, and up and over goes the iRacing.com number 2, and Tyler Schell will be retiring from the second heat of the night.
Got a little bit too aggressive there. Slammed once, slammed twice, and that third slam sent him up onto the back tires and right over onto his lid, Arjuna. And that's a tow back to the pit lane. And like you mentioned, right into the Alphabet Soup goes Schell. But here's this top 3, the 4, the 11, and the 6. Parmley, Neal, and Uwe. They have pulled away now from the rest of the field. Aaron Walker can just look in front of him and try and gain back the 1 second that he needs. But as of right now, onto the white flag, it's a battle for second place.
Cast your mind 12 months ago, Parmley and Uwe fighting for the win in the feature. It was Uwe that was able to grab it out. Parmley settled for second. Parmley won't settle for second in this heat. He grabs the Heat 2 victory. He'll line up on the outside of the front row. O'Neill and Uwe will advance along with the 4 machine. The rest of the cars getting ready to fight through what is going to be a tough evening to make it to the feature. Walker, Sinner, Schoen, Allison, Gill, Majeda, and Schell. Confirmation of those 7 that will fight their way through the rest of the last chance qualifiers. We'll see how Parmley, Uwe, and O'Neal get on in the feature. It will be Noah Boehm at the front. Heat number 3, he's alongside Rico Robles with Jace Park and Brody Kostecki, 3rd and 4th positions. It's then Brian Hughes and Justin Adakonis in row number 3 with Turjak, Giberson, Armstrong, and Davies. 10 cars ready to go once again. Not the first flip that we've seen today, and it won't be the last flip, that's for sure.
And it's so easy to do. I mean, these cars don't have the gigantic wings that the 305, 360, or the 410 sprint cars have, but they react a lot of the same way. With it's very easy to get flipped up onto the lid because these are open wheel machines. They look a lot different than the typical open wheel machines we see here on RaceSpotTV, but they are open wheel nonetheless.
Yes, that is true. Again, I think one thing that we enjoy about this event, Josh, is the fact that we get to celebrate the dirt oval community. It's not often that we get to do this here on RaceSpotTV.
And as we get ready to go green, I'm excited to see what these drivers do for the remainder of the heats and the mains. We're just getting started tonight.
Oh, we're just getting started indeed. A bit of a Noah's Ark formation as Heat 3 gets underway. A slide to the inside, potentially Park, and he is going to rob the final transfer spot away from Brody Kostecki, at least momentarily. Top 2 trying to canter away as now Park watches as Hughes slides his way past Brody Kostecki. Another spot loss, Kostecki getting swarmed.
And that crossover move to the inside gives a little bit of contact to Adakonis, who's going to lose a bit of time now. He falls to victim to Kyle Turzak now as we look on board with that number 37 of Adakonis. And here's the battle for 3rd right now, and Hughes gives a shot to Park looking for the spot.
Now get physical, that's for sure. Now, I think that is the Brody Kostecki from down under, the one that races in the V8 supercars for the lead. No, Bowman gets shoved out wide. Robles will inherit the lead, and now it's a 4-car scrap potentially for the final transfer positions. We said it was going to get physical. Bowman maybe feeling the pressure, launches himself off the berm, costs himself more time.
Hughes loses a bit of time now to Park as well in the battle for the transfer spot. Park looks for 2nd on Bowman, gives a shot to the back bumper. Bowman looks for the spot, now the 42 makes contact, and around goes Brian Hughes to the 27. Bumper cars for 4th on back as Jace Park pulls away for the transfer spot.
Well, the front, not much drama. At the back, cars upside down. It will be Rico Robles that slides through the drama to grab victory in the 3rd heat of the night. Noah Bowman and Jace Park somehow will advance along with him. It'll be Brody Kostecki, Carl Turk, Michael Giberson, Brian Hughes, Austin Armstrong, Caden Davis, and just Adakonis cars that have to fight their way back into the feature. That was definitely the most physical heat that we've seen so far. By no means is it going to be the most physical race that we'll see over the course of the night. It's a cabaret party on the front row. Chase in front of Cole with JD Brown inside of Anthony Woodhull, and then Dalton Wicker and Evan McFarlane on row number 3. Behind them, starting in 7th, Chase Spicola sees Logan Cozy alongside with Travis Lapinis, and then Alex Rupert. The 10 cars ready to go once again. We get a sense of what some of our World Championship competitors are going to do as they roll out onto the track.
And now, over halfway done with these heats, Arjuna, we only have 9 names that will go racing in the A main tonight. We have another 9 that we're going to get from here, but then everybody else eliminated from these heats is just staring at what is going to be one of the toughest challenges all night, which is making it through the alphabet soup, especially the drivers that finish at the tail end of each of these heats, having a race out of the dreaded E main.
And of course, each of those last chance qualifiers adds a couple of laps as well, so they get a little bit longer, a little bit more tricky to try and work your way through. What do we have in store for us here? It's the Space Station gaming machine of Chase Cabrera, though, that will get us underway for the 4th heat of the night. Alongside Cole Cabrera, JD Brown fighting side by side for 2nd. Brown unable to get the move done just yet. It is Anthony Woodhull that riding as our camera car right now, trying to find the line that he's trying to pick. JD Brown just, I think for the time being, content to ride in line, but his willingness to do so maybe cost him there. A bit of contact. It's Woodhull that loses out the most.
JD Brown slammed the inside line, that hump on the inside, not quite an apron. It gets these cars very upset. That's exactly what Brown did to get that car upset, and the 68 makes hard contact to the outside of the 46 of Chase Piccola. That's actually Alex Rupert that is going to tow it back to the pit lane, and same thing with Dalton Wicker, who is going to be scored P9 now.
And well, once again, the 3 cars in the transfer spots. left to fight amongst themselves. Cabre, Brown, the front three as they run on to what is the penultimate lap of this fourth heat. Cole is looking feisty here, I tell you. He may want to get one over on his family member here and chase that leads at the front. And, well, with one lap to go, at the end of the day, they all know that they've got a spot in the future waiting for them if they'll survive.
Another big gap from third down to fourth as well between Brown and Woodall. But Chase Cabre, Cole Cabre, and JD Brown looking at the checkered flag and looking at a feature spot.
Not too much at the front once again, but behind it's getting more and more physical as we work through the course of the night. Cabre, Brown, the three that will advance with Woodhull, Spicola, Cozy, and the rest getting ready to fight through what is going to be a treacherous night. I have no doubt about that. Already on deck though, ready to go for heat number 5. It's going to be James Tiernan who starts on pole position out of Illinois with Noah Carpenter from Florida alongside Aiden Perdue, and then Sabin Bybent third and fourth with Matthew Johnston and JD Laird 5th and 6th positions. Tanner Boland, Corey Reese, Takuma Ito, and then James McDonald will round out the field of 10. And again, an international flair in this one. Drivers from all around the world. Josh, I think it's hard to deny, it is getting more physical. The intensity is rising out on track.
More physical indeed, and it's tough to get physical with these cars. You can do it with the late models with the massive fenders on them, but these open wheel machines don't quite like that much contact. You can use the bumpers a little bit, but you got to be very careful, and we've already seen it go south more than once tonight, and I have a feeling we're going to see it go south a couple of more times, at least before we get into those mains.
Yeah, we still got plenty of racing to work our way through, that is for sure. One more heat after this, and then into the alphabet soup. It will be Tiernan, Carpenter on the front row, Perdue, Vibant behind them. Great start from James Tiernan, and this time Noah Carpenter left vulnerable. Perdue down the inside, not able to complete the move as we get ready to sign off the opening lap. But a much more coordinated start at the front, and now potential battles for that transfer spot.
Matthew Johnston is within striking distance. He is right there behind Aiden Perdue, but the battle for the lead is on as giving a shot to the back bumper. Tiernan is Carpenter as they work their way back through the back straightaway and immediately back into 3 and 4. There's a creeping number 18, a Matthew Johnston that's going to look for a transfer spot on Aiden Perdue.
Behind them, they are fighting, and that, I believe, is Sabin Bybent up and over, but somehow lands on all 4 wheels, and spirit of dirt racing will continue fighting. Perdue and Johnston for that transfer spot. Now side by side, Johnston on the inside, able to get in front. Perdue tried to give a bit of a shove, will get the crossover and back to third spot.
Very physical for the transfer spot as Perdue takes it back from Johnston. 2 to go at the line here. Not a ton more opportunities for Johnston to make that pass work. Tiernan and Carpenter, they're in their own battle for the race lead, but Perdue and Johnston trying to fight to stay alive in this campaign of the evening.
One final lap to go for this 5th heat of the night. Johnston still a little bit too far behind, you'd have to think. 2 or 3 car lengths the difference. Front of the field, though, Tiernan and Carpenter hammer and tongs. It does not matter. They finish as they start. James Tiernan wins the 5th heat with Carpenter and Perdue able to roll alongside into the feature. Behind them, Johnston not able to get the move done in time. He goes to the last chance qualifiers with JD Laird, Corey Reese, Tanner Boland, Takuma Ito, Bybant, and then McDonald. Much cleaner heat, though, than the last couple that we've had. Already the 6th heat, though, ready to go. Logan Rumsey will lead us to the green in this one. The 2020 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion, Josh Kozek, Cody Welker, Garrett Hulsey, the rest of the top 4. Marshall Jacobs inside of Joey Ladacour as the cars begin to roll with Connor Darnell, Carl Nogel, Jeff Counter, and Carl Hubbard. The final cars getting ready to tank, as we'll see which cars are guaranteed a spot in the feature, which drivers have a lot of work to do. That was a fun little heat that we had just there, Josh, both for the lead and for third as well.
Starting to see really the aggression from these drivers come out, which is so interesting to see. The aggression of dirt oval racing is different, whether in one of these cars, whether in you're one of the higher powered sprint cars, or if you're in a late model. The aggression is different, but at the same time, they're all racing for the same thing.
Once again, ready to go. Logan Rumsey is the #1 car. Some expectations often come with that, and he will convert pole position to the lead. Kosek able to hold off Halsey for the time being. Meanwhile, they're all starting to migrate through the lines. You can see how the track has started to evolve more and more. We're seeing drivers content right a little bit higher through the mid part of the corner, Josh. Of course, track reset, something that we'll talk about as we work through the rest of the night.
A very typical spot to find Logan Rumsey is at the front of the field with Josh Kosick behind, but then Garrett Halsey hanging on to that transfer spot as Marshall Jacobs actually going to be the first one to try and make a move. He went down to the inside of Cody Walker, but then loses a ton of time. He's going to make contact with Joey Ladouceur, and Ladouceur sends him up and out of the way. Jacobs down to 7th.
All this while, the top 3 once again allowed to somewhat break away. Halfway through the final heat of the night, on board Cody Welker as he's trying to hunt down Halsey, but you can see just struggling to close the gap for the time being. There is the white and blue machine. See the separation up to the lead trio at the front. Carl Hubbard with an issue is going to pull down to the inside and stay well and truly out of harm's way. But a lap or so to go at the front of the field. Rumsey from Kosek from Halsey.
Only a couple more corners to go on the final lap, and Rumsey is looking stout at the front, and no pressure for any of the top 3 at the end of this heat, Arjuna. End of heat 6, Rumsey, Kosick, and Halsey into the feature.
Our 2 champions of the iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals here live on RaceSpotTV are now into the feature. Logan Rumsey able to grab the victory in the final heat. He'll line up 6th position then once we get to the 55-lap main event. Kosek will join him in that race with Welker, Ladouceur, Darnell, Jacobs, Counter, Noble, and Hubbard having to fight their way through. We're not done racing though, and now it's the last chance for some. We get started with the first of the last chance qualifiers where Jeff Counter, Patrick Rushton, Austin Medeja, Caden Davies, Dalton Wicker, and Sabin Bibent will line up as the front 3 rows in the field. Behind them, Nogel, Charles, Shell, Adaconis, Rupert, McDonald will be top 12. Carl Hubbard, the final car that will get underway. And of course, remember, the top 4 will advance to the D main, where the top 4 advance to the C main, where the top 2 advance from the B main to the feature.
Starting at this E main and through all the way through to the feature race. Top 4 make it in here, okay, easy enough. Yes, it's still very difficult. 13 drivers in this race to be in the top 4, but then you have to make it in the top 4 in the next one, then in the one for that, then in the one after that, then in the top 2 to try and make it into the A main. It is a long road ahead for any of these E main drivers, but it's not out of the realm of possibility, especially with some of the fast drivers we have in this race.
Drivers that competed in heat number 1 may be at a slight disadvantage here because the track has evolved and there's no reset before we head into the alphabet soup. That only comes before the feature. Jeff Counter, though, picks up the throttle and leaves Patrick Rushton very, very vulnerable. Terrible start from the 2nd row of the grid. 3 wide down the back straightaway, and Counter runs away to the race lead.
Bit of carnage further back as all the way to 13th goes Caden Davies, but side by side between Bibent and Rushton now for 4th. That's for the transfer. Bibent looking on the outside line, or on the inside line, I should say. Outside line, trying to stay there is Austin Medeja. Medeja loses a ton of time, and here comes a hip check and more contact in turn 3.
What happened to Counter, though? He's not in the race lead anymore. Bibent now at the point. Adaconis in 3rd. Momentarily, McDonald will get past him. Tyler Shell still in contention of maybe sliding his way on through. 13 cars started, 4 of whom are down on pit lane with major drama halfway through the E-main.
Here's a replay of what happened. The 53 up and onto the apron there. That started the chain reaction that picked up Medeja and picked up Dalton Wicker as well at the edge of the top 10. It was a chain reaction wreck in turn 3, and as we're now over halfway through this E-main, the shape of the top 4 has changed. Tyler Shell is knocking on the door of a transfer.
He'll go to the inside of Adaconis and maybe make a bit of contact there. Both of them lose out. Shell more significantly, he gets ping-ponged off of Rushton, still pointed in the right direction, but now with a lot of time still to make up with laps ticking down. Bibent, Counter, McDonald, and Adaconis, the top 4 as they run right now with 2 laps to go.
Tyler Schell trying to get back to the back bumper. The 37 and more contact at the front. James McDonald slams Jeff Counter out of the way, and onto his lid goes the 53. The 37 of Justin Ataconis is around as well, struggling to keep it going, but Sabin Bybin wins. McDonald second. Schell and Ataconis holds on barely for the final transfer.
So Sabin Bybant able to slide his way through all of the chaos. 5 positions gained for him, 10 positions gained for James McDonald, who advances along somehow with Tyler Schell and Justin Ataconis. It's getting crazy inside the Tulsa Expo Center. It's only going to get wackier from here. Ready to go for the D main now, where the next 4 drivers will slide their way on through. We do wave goodbye to some drivers, unfortunately, but Brian Hughes, Evan McFarlane, Tanner Bolin, and Marshall Jacobs line up provisionally in the transfer spots. Behind them, Heckman and Gill, 5th and 6th positions. Armstrong and Lapanis, 7th and 8th, with Ito and Bibe through the top 10. 10th through 13th as well. We'll see the 4 that advance out of the main, who've got it all to do from the back once again. But based on what we've just seen, Josh, staying at the back may not be the worst thing in the world.
No, but at the same time, they have to try and make their way back up through the field, which if they survive all the trouble that we saw in that first E main, then it can be easy. But they've got to beat Evan McFarlane, a very, very quick racer. They've got to beat some of the faster drivers that came out of the qualifying session as well. Bybant, McDonald, and Schell and Ataconis have their work cut out for them in those final 4 spots.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but never say never. That is the reality of this. Could a driver advance out of the E-main and make it to the feature? Quite possibly. Could they win? We'll have to wait and see. So it's Brian Hughes and Evan McFarlane that get ready to go racing, and McFarlane caught napping there as Brian Hughes times that to perfection. Behind them, a little bit of an issue there for one of the drivers at the front as he slides on back. Ito gets shoved into the wall. Ataconis is also up and over, but it's Hughes from McFarlane, from Jacobs, from Poland at the front of the field.
Great start for all of our top 4 in those transfer spots, but you're on board with 5th place Ryan Heckman. He'll slam the outside wall, but gets a little bit of help entering the corner, and a side-by-side battle in front of him between Evan McFarlane and Tanner Bolin might be all Heckman needs to try and get into those transfer spots as they race their way through the middle portion now of the D-main. Where is the first driver that qualified in from the E-main? That's going to be Tyler Schell back in 10th.
So Brian Hughes has built up a bit of an advantage at the front. We haven't seen any side-by-side looks just yet for that transfer spot. Heckman is closing bit by bit as we reach the halfway point, still unable to launch an attack at least just yet. Armstrong and McDonald fight for 7th, but really got a bit more concerned about the time they lose to those at the front, because running out of time to be able to get a move, and well, McDonald will get pinched by Armstrong. Somehow they'll hold on.
Oh, and there's the contact to the back bumper of the 49 of Armstrong. McDonald through to P7, continuing his fight to get to the transfer spots, but it's a close battle in between 4th and 5th now. Separation now less than 0.5 of a second as we look at the battle for 3rd. Evan McFarlane and Tanner Bolin continuing to fight, and now Arjuna, exactly what I talked about at the top of the show. The track developing, no moisture left on the inside. Here comes the outside line to start to bloom.
Question will be for Bolin. Does he want a slightly better starting spot for the next alphabet soup? Does he want to just survive and not let Heckman into the fight? Here's a look at what happened to Armstrong that's seen him actually take the return to pit lanes. That will be the end of the day, unfortunately, for Austin Armstrong for this iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals. One final lap to go, though, in this D-main. At the front of the field, Brian Hughes has driven the perfect race. He'll slide his way forward to the C-main, along with Marshall Jacobs, Evan McFarlane, and Tanner Bolin. But we say goodbye to Ryan Heckman, Rowan Gill, James McDonald, Tyler Schell, Travis Lapanis, Justin Ataconis, as well as Austin Armstrong, Takuma Ito, and Sabin Bybant. We are not going to see a driver go from the E-main to the feature, unfortunately. What happens, though, in this next stage of racing, we're over to the C-main, and D. Laird will be at the front, along with Joey Ladacour, Alec Inslee, Tyler Schoen, 3rd and 4th. Michael Giberson inside of Logan Cozy in the 47 and the 50 machines, with Corey Reese and Connor Darnell behind them. Jacob Reed and Noah Allison round out the top 10. Brian Hughes, Marshall Jacobs, as well as Evan McFarlane and Tanner Bolin, the 14 cars that get ready to go racing for 14 laps. Again, in each of these alphabet soups, we had a couple of laps onto the board. We've got more cars, we've got more laps in the field, but it's not as crazy as it's going to be, Josh, of course, when we get to the feature with 55 laps and 20 cars with caution laps not counting.
And remember, once we get into the A main, the feature race tonight, caution laps will start to count. So they can get their aggression out now. They can be aggressive for these spots, not have to deal with having that caution flag come out in any of these mains. But I believe once we get into that feature, then they're going to start to count. Arjuna, or maybe I'm wrong.
They do not, unfortunately. I hate to correct Joshua Lee because most of the time he's more right than me. Unfortunately, not in this instance. JD Laird not allowed to pick up the throttle trouble-free. Ladakor alongside, but now slides into second. Inslee Schoen, top 4 single file for the time being, but Schoen gets out of the groove. Opportunity presented to Michael Giberson, who tries to throw it to the inside, but the lack of moisture makes contact. Giberson goes around, up and over, and that's 2 of the iRacing.com midgets done here today.
That was huge contact there, but the story of the top 4 continues to stay the same with Laird, Ladisser, Inslee, and now Schoen and Reese gonna go side by side for the transfer as they'll fight their way for 4th. Reese on the inside, Schoen on the outside. This is exactly the side-by-side battles we've been wanting all night, Arjuna, and using that inside line to his advantage is the 5, but look at that moisture on the outside, giving Schoen a little bit more of a run.
Oh, and contact. Schoen's going to go around, unfortunately. He'll get collected as well, potentially, by Jacobs in the midst of things. Chaos and carnage with cars going hop, skip, and jumping all the way over the track. But at the front of the field, once again, it's 4 cars that break away and are in control of their transfer spots. Laird, Ladakor, Inslee, and Reese don't have to do much here, Josh, to work their way forward to the B main.
I know you're used to working with Joey Tebbin. It's been a while since we've worked together, Arjuna. I'll let you get that. I'll let that one slide. But this battle for 3rd, battle for 2nd with Ladisser and Inslee is very interesting because they're within the transfer spots. But remember, going through these mains, they are still fighting in those transfer spots for qualifying spot in the feature. Could mean the difference between a good feature ending spot, could mean the difference between getting caught up in a wreck or not. You still need to go for these positions within these transfer spots.
I'm just saying, we got a mega commentator if we combine the powers of Joey Tebbin and Joshua Lee. Coming to 4 laps to go, though, still the gap to Cozy hasn't really come down, and at this point, maybe you would think that Inslee is a little bit more willing to look forward and try and get that one better starting spot, because remember, it's not 4 that advance out of the B main, it is just 2 that advance to the feature. It's going to get physical for those final few transfer spots as the rest of the drivers will close out 2022 and their iRacing special event calendar. 2 laps still to go. Laird, Ladakor, Inslee separated by not much. Reese a little bit further behind. White flag in hand for JD Laird at the front of the field. Was looking forward to showcasing his speed once again here on RaceSpotTV. One step more to get his way forward to the A main, but JD Laird will lead Ladakor, Inslee, and Reese forward to the B main.
We still have one more main left, Arjuna, with Laird, Ladisser, Inslee, and Reese transferring through. Everybody else down from there has been eliminated, but now heading into this B main, there's a lot more on the line. Only the top 2 gonna work their way into the A main.
Oh, I'm looking forward to this. We say goodbye to the rest of the drivers, of course. They'll be watching on from the sidelines with much anticipation about this final opportunity to make it to the feature. Regan Edwards, Aaron Walker in the 2 transfer spots with Brody Kostecki and Anthony Woodhull behind them. Matthew Johnson, Cody Welker, 5th and 6th positions, while Ryan Avila has Chad Sinner for company. Carl Turjak and Chase Piccola round out the top 10 with JD Laird, as well as the rest of those that advance their way forward from the C main lining up at the back of this 14-car field as they get ready to fight for 16 laps. I mean, Josh, we've gotten to this point, and I'm as nervous as I've been at any point through the course of the racing.
I'm especially nervous if I'm JD Laird, Ladisser, Inslee, and Reese at the back of this field, because it's not like they just need to reach top 4. They've been trained ever since the beginning of this main. Okay, gotta reach top 4, gotta reach top 4. Now they got to reach top 2, which right now is only Reagan Edwards and Aaron Walker at the front of this field. We still have Kostecki, who we've seen has been very fast, especially all week long. Woodall, who has been very quick tonight. Matthew Johnston, who was knocking on the door of a transfer spot and just barely missed out on a spot in the feature. Welker, Avila, a world championship competitor, is trying to fight for a transfer spot here.
These storylines are amazing. This is, of course, the opportunity for those outside of the World Championship scene to also make their mark and show the rest of the drivers exactly how much speed they have in open setup battle with track conditions continuing to change. Brody Kostecki checks up a little bit there, but bumps Regan Edwards to the lead of the race. Kostecki slides forward to that second transfer position in front of Aaron Walker and Anthony Woodhull, Matthew Johnson, all fighting for 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. But while Edwards runs away at the front, fight for that second transfer position is 3 wide out of turn number 4.
Oh, and they're going to stack up a little bit, still 3 wide as they work their way off of turn number 4, side by side now, as Kostecki trying to break free. He's trying to get around Matthew Johnston, who bullied his way into that transfer spot, fighting up from 5th, still side by side for the transfers on the outside line. Brody Kostecki using the moisture to his advantage, trying to get by, and he gets a run there, but the block from Johnston now to the top side.
Tries the crossover, does Kostecki, but Johnston's wise to it for the time being. More and more, you're just seeing the drivers commit even up high on entry. They are sliding their way all the way to the berm, getting onto the power and ramping off. Cars into the wall behind him. That was Welker, in his car that had his moment, the 48. But that second transfer spot still fighting with Kostecki now in front of Johnston and Walker, getting to the halfway mark of the B main.
Kostecki is trying to pull away and is using all the different lines. He's been up to the top side trying to get a run. He's been down to the low side to try and get a little bit more moisture with those front tires, as I believe Kyle Turzak just went up and over and onto his lid. He has towed it back into the pit lane, but you're on board with Aaron Walker as a front row seat for this side-by-side battle. He's choosing to use the inside line, and Matthew Johnston really doing the only different thing he can do to Brody Kostecki, which is use the outside line. It's now to his advantage with 7 to go. He's looking for a transfer spot to the inside, the crossover move in 3.
I think Kostecki just trying to get up high eventually, and now it's Johnston that's pinched down low. He'll try and slide up the track, but you just see the run off the corner that Kostecki is able to get. Well and truly clear, by the way. Regan Edwards is on his way to the feature with 5 laps left to go. Here's a look at a replay of what happened a little bit further back involving Cody Welker. It was also involving the iRacing.com midgets as well. Welker goes up and over into the infield.
Still for the transfer spot. It's about 5/10 now between those two, as Johnston has been trying to inch closer, and he has been within striking distance, but it's really the differing lines right now, Arjuna. You can see the long black line that's being developed on the bottom of the racetrack. There's still a little bit moisture left down there. As you can see, Johnston goes for it here, as Kostecki does as well. And then there's a lot of moisture left on the outside line, but maybe the outside line is a little bit slower at this racetrack, and the cushion not quite as developed. So it's just trying to find the best of both worlds as white flag is out.
Final chance for Johnston, but he's too far behind. It's going to be Regan Edwards and Brody Kostecki that will line up at the very back of the 20-car feature grid. They survived the alphabet soup, albeit not having to fight through much of it, only competing in this B main. But we say goodbye to Johnston, Woodhull, Walker, and the rest of the field. What chaos we've had just to get to this point, whittling down 60 to the 20 that will fight for 55 laps. And now the track gets reset. They get 5 minutes to dial in their setups once more before once again we'll reset the track and finally go racing to crown the 2022 iRacing Chili Bowl National Champion. And of course, we have both the 2020 winner as well as our defending champion in the field and towards the front.
And how about the track, Arjuna? We just talked about the track developing and the track state being so much more worn in than it was when we began the night. Well, how about this now? With it being completely fresh, this 5-minute warm-up going to be getting the track prepped and ready with all the cars running on it. Then we'll get ready to go racing in a 55-lap feature, which when we go green and when the checkered flag flies, it's going to be 2 completely different tracks, but we won't get as quite worn in as we did towards the end of those mains. But now the drivers have to to try and regain control of their cars over a fresh track, which is going to be a little bit easier to do and also a little bit more difficult depending on how their setup is as well.
Just saw, by the way, in the YouTube chat a comment. There's quite a few real-life drivers here, and we did try to mention it when it came to Brody Kostecki. The problem is the race is just so frantic here. There's not enough time to talk about the storylines about the drivers and also try and tell you what's going on in the race. So Brody Kostecki, yeah, let's talk about it. 2022 has been a monster year for him in the V8 Supercars Championship. A couple of podiums, 4th in the Bathurst 1000 as well. And this is a man that loves his sim racing, Josh, to the point where he's competed in the top split broadcasted race of the iRacing Indianapolis 500 before. It's very similar to Scott McLaughlin. There's something about these drivers in Australia where they just like a challenge. And this is very, very challenging, and it's very challenging in its own unique way. As far as Dirt Oval goes, I mean, I think of the 410 sprint cars, yes, those are the top level. Those are going to be the cars that you race for championships in, but these dirt midgets have their own very specific set of skill set that you need to have as a driver. And these are cars that I cannot master. I have tried my best to master these things, especially right here at the Chili Bowl, but I cannot get it. It is so much play of the wheel. There's so much correction to the right. I don't know how these drivers do it for 2 laps, let alone 55. The other thing is, well, that you're not often spending much time on full throttle. What craziness it's been so far. We still have 55 laps potentially to go. Don't go anywhere on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. We're ready to crown your 2022 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's time to get down and dirty for the seriousness of crowning the 2022 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion. Hello everyone, welcome back to RaceSpotTV and to the iRacing Esports Network. My name is Arjuna Kankipati. Delighted to be joined alongside by Joshua Lee with Hugo Luis behind the scenes controlling all of the action. Josh, we've had fun so far, but now it's not about fun. It's about serious business, 20 cars, 55 laps, and crowning a champion. We've had 2 different champions in 2 previous years. Both those champions are up towards the front, but there are plenty of challengers here to spoil the party.
And plenty of fast challengers as well. This is a very, very quick group of drivers and a very, very experienced group of drivers as well. We have a handful of world champions. One of them, Ryan Avila, was eliminated in our B main a little bit earlier on, but Dylan Yeager and Logan Rumsey both going to try and go for tonight's Chili Bowl championship.
Lots of last-minute adjustments, I think, in the last 5 minutes. Not so much, I think, in terms of setup, but mindset, understanding the rest of the drivers. And of course, we're going to reset the track to a fresh state, and the drivers will slick it all up as we work through the 55 laps. It's time to go racing for the feature, though. Dylan Yeager, pole position, controlled heat number 1, and now starts at the front of the feature. Cody Parmley will be alongside and looking to go one better from his 2nd place finish in 2021. Rico Robles and Chase Cabri share row number 2. It's James Tiernan in 5th with the 2020 champion Logan Rumsey starting back in 6th. In 7th, Jet Barnes has Austin O'Neill alongside with Noah Bowman and Cole Cabri rounding out the top 10. Noah Carpenter inside of Josh Kozek, 11th and 12th positions. And as we slide our way down to 13th spot, we see Colton Key alongside defending Chili Bowl champion Ethan Uwe has to roll from 14th position. Chase Park and Eddie Brown, 15th and 16th, with Aiden Perdue and Garrett Halsey, 17th, 18th, and of course Regan Edwards and Brody Kostecki fought their way through the B main to line up at the back. Joshua Lee, expectations and a prediction as we get ready to go.
Oh, my expectations are a little bit changed from the heats. I think we're still going to see some aggression. I think we might see it a little bit muted, especially towards the end of this feature race. But I think my money has to go on Dylan Yeager from the pole, world championship competitor. But don't count out Parmley, Cabry, Rumsey, Barnes. There's a lot of quick drivers as we get ready to go green.
It is the showcase event for the Dirt Oval community. The iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals is underway for 2022, and Dylan Yeager bobbles through the opening corner. Rico Robles takes the race lead as we slide through turns 3 and 4, but already drama, 2 and 3 wide, a new race leader at the front.
Down on that inside line, a lot of banging from James Tiernan in the 7 as we have yellow flag on the racetrack. First caution of the night. Cautions are on here in the feature. Unlike our heats and mains on the beginning of the evening, Jet Barnes ends up towing it back to the pit lane and the first yellow flag is out.
We slow it down, and just a reminder, caution laps do not count in this race, as much as Joshua Lee was trying to confuse Lee slightly earlier. Here's a look at the RaceSpotTV play, and it was just getting stacked up on the outside, and then bumper cars being played. Benova, I think that would have been JD Brown that gave the shot that saw the 35 rolling around and around. So slow it down, and now single file restarts rather than the double file start that we had at the start of this race. Dylan Yeager is going to be slightly frustrated, I think, here, Josh, because he got a great launch, slid through turn number 1 with great confidence, but as he got onto the power, just lost all momentum out of turn 2.
And that is one of the challenging things that we've been talking about, is getting on the power. It becomes very, very difficult to do. And just like that, caution laps are over. We're going green onto lap 3.
They're going to be short caution periods, that's for sure. Yeager caught napping there on the restart as Robles builds about a 5-car length advantage down the back straightaway. Yeager, Tiernan, Parmley run 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Caution back out immediately, though. I think Colton Key mixed up in this one. Cautions do breed cautions, and we've been talking about just how difficult this car is to handle by yourself, Josh. Now imagine having to handle it around 19 other competitors.
And of course, the largest field that we have had tonight, this 20-car feature, and cautions are on. Caution laps do not count. That is what I was trying to explain earlier, and my brain and mouth wouldn't exactly connect. But there's what happened to Colton Key, and harsh contact as well for the number 20 and Noah Carpenter there as well. But it looked to be just a typical dirt oval cautions breed cautions moment where everybody's stacked up. One driver gets hard on the gas, and then they just kind of accordion effect from there. They stack up, one into another, and then unfortunately it all culminates into the incident that bringing out the caution that we just saw.
And I have a feeling that it might be the story of the next handful of moments in this race. Once it settles down, I think we'll get into a nice little run, but you got to get there first. Pace truck off once again. Can Rico Robles put the pressure onto Dylan Yeager once again? He'll get another good jump, but this time Yeager able to hold on a little better, does not allow Tiernan the opportunity to try and get to the inside. Of course, we're still watching the track starting to slick off. Cars running down low for the time being, but you're going to see them start to slide a little bit higher. And of course, the setups that these drivers are using, Josh, are going to be very different to what they were running in the shorter heats and the shorter alphabet soups.
Very different, especially in the fuel tanks. You can lower the amount of fuel you're going to put in these cars, make them a little bit lighter through the heats and the other mains. But now that we're in the feature race, you have to have enough fuel in for 55 laps. The longest we've been racing so far tonight has been in the B main with 16 laps. So you got to fill it up with a lot more of the fuel than you did earlier on in the race, making them a little bit more heavy, which is going to make it a little bit more challenging to control these things.
Getting into the rhythm a little bit now. Space Station Gaming's machine, though, into the wall and up and over for Chase Cabri. He bounces back into the path of oncoming traffic. He was already back on all 4 wheels before he took the tow back to pit lane. We slow things down, and it just looked like Cabri got out of the groove and understeered in some way out to the wall. But of course, we talk about just how tricky this track is to master in these behemoths of cars. Just about 900 pounds, about 400 horsepower. An unfortunate incident sees the caution out for the third time today, and one of our major contenders, you'd have to say, is out on board with Cabri. Loads up the right side of the car as he slides into the corner, and he's just never turning, unfortunately. And well, unfortunately, even the Sebastian Vettel helmet could only do so much to save him.
That's one of those moments in these cars that they just kind of break loose. I say break loose, but they kind of break into understeer. Normally, when you're turning these cars, you hit the throttle, it turns to the left. But then if you apply a little bit too much throttle, you end up needing to actually turn it back to the left to get it to brake again. That was something that happened right there to Chase Cabri. Hits the outside wall, but another very quick caution period. We're already ready to get back racing.
It's still Rico Robles at the front, in front of Dylan Yeager as we power out. Back onto the green flag running. It's a good start once again from Yeager this time. Side by side, slightly further back as Logan Rumsey gets pushed wide by the sole surviving Cabri. Austin O'Neill trying to slide on his way on through for the 6th position, but that number 1 car going to be able to pinch him down and lock the position down for the time being. On board, we now jump with Josh Kozek as he migrates up to the higher line, just trying to find some purchase to try and slide his way on through. And you're just seeing how the drivers are investigating, navigating their way around the track, Josh, and figuring out the right line to be running.
Beautiful onboard here with Josh Kozek as you really see how he's trying to set up this pass on the 11 of Austin O'Neill. He's looking to the inside, but not overusing the throttle. Normally, when you're trying to make passes, whether you're in a NASCAR Cup Series machine or whether you're in an asphalt oval in an Indy car, so to speak, you're trying to get to the inside. You're maybe using a little bit more throttle.
Oops.
You can't do that here as Chase Park ends up with an issue, and his 3rd caution of the night is out.
I think it's 4th caution of the, isn't it now?
I believe it is 4th.
To be honest, I'm losing count as well, so never trust the comments. Math is our constant refrain here on RaceSpotTV. We've only gotten 15 laps or so in, and I think this is going to be a look at the replay. Chase Park bumping into someone, and then on the rejoin, I assume that's where the caution would have triggered, just in front of Regan Edwards, so Noah Carpenter would have been the other car involved. Once again, we slow it down. One thing I am starting to be a bit concerned about here, Josh, is I hope everyone's got enough fuel now.
That is a very real concern that some of these drivers might be having, but if they didn't put extra fuel into these cars before they began, I honestly think that's going to be a little bit on them. You need to have a little bit more in the tank other than exactly 55 laps for this exact reason.
I guess it depends how many cautions we end up having by the time we get to the checkered flag. If we've only had the 4, I think that would have been expected for the drivers. If we get up to the double digits, I think that's when they'll be a little bit more nervy at this point in time. Back underway though, and this time Dylan Yeager, a little bit more pressure from behind as he stamps onto the loud pedal. Rico Robles from Dylan Yeager, James Kiernan, Cody Parmley, and Cole Cabri. The top 5 as they run right now. We have not seen the defending champion Ethan Uwe be able to work his way forward the same way I maybe was expecting, Josh. He's stuck down in 10th position.
And there is that hornet's nest that Ethan Uwe is around. He's got Noah Bowman and Josh Kozek fighting side by side in front of him as that black and yellow number 6 trying to find a way through and all the way up to the outside line. He'll try and follow Noah Bowman around the outside of Josh Kozek trying to get that spot away.
Side by side, and Ethan Uwe turns it in early, just trying to roll as low as he can through the corner. Not going to work out, I think, how he wanted to, but for the 5th time today, we slow it down once more, and this time it might be Garrett Halsey, the car that was involved. Here's a look at the replay, Josh.
Wondering what happened here to Halsey. And oh, it just looks like the 20 gets a little bit too hot to the inside. And it really honestly looked like his nowhere to go for the other 2 poor souls that were involved in that one. But it honestly looked like he was just trying to run down to that inside and maybe made a move a little bit too quick. Contact was made and more of a racing incident there than really, I think, putting blame on either one of those drivers. But 5th caution and just about halfway done. And I believe the longest green flag run we've had has been about 5 or 6 laps. So we haven't really seen this track develop too much. We haven't really seen how these drivers are going to race through long runs yet. And once we get to that point, I think we're going to see some really interesting battles, especially among this top 5, because we've already seen them start to develop at around the 4 or 5 lap stage.
I'm just saying that out of last year's Chili Bowl, where again, I'm just going to throw Josh under the bus for throwing me under the bus with getting a sinus infection. Yes, you left me
under the bus for getting a sinus infection.
Yes, you left me alone to shout over what was some of the best racing I've ever seen, to the point where it's in my show reel. Dylan Yeager, with a monster of a start, tried to get to the inside of Rico Robles, but overcommitted and somehow did not flip. He will drop down the order, fighting to hold on to 4th position, but Dylan Yeager's dominance at the front has been troubled through this feature, and he's feeling the pressure, now in 5th.
Rico Robles to the front, and into the wall goes Dylan Yeager. That is World Championship license number 3. Dylan Yeager up and over, gets it back on the wheels, but yellow flag is back out as we reach halfway done.
And surely that is Yeager's chances of the victories well and truly done and dusted. In the 2022 World of Outlaws Butt Kicker Late Model Championship, Dylan Yeager finished 5th with 1 win, 5 top 5s, and 8 top 10s through the season. Consistency was on his side. Unfortunately, this is not going to help the cause. He's down in 17th spot, scored as 1 lap down. Here's that ride on board, and he was always heading up into the fence, if you ask me. A hellacious ride on board. I'm hoping Dylan Yeager's not in VR.
I've heard of a couple of dirt oval racers using VR, but it's not quite as popular as it is over on the dirt road side. But yeah, if that was a VR wreck there, it would have been quite nauseating, especially if he was Cam Peterson level VR and a motion rig.
That was one of the coolest setups we did see in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series earlier this year. Dirt racers in general do tend to be a little bit more willing to use virtual reality. Back underway though, caution starting to take their tolls. It's now Robles from Tiernan with Cabri in 3rd, trying to run the high line and chase down 2nd spot, with Logan Rumsey, the 2020 champion, now up into 4th, inserting himself into the mix as well. We're nearing the halfway marker of the race, Josh, and I think from here, surely, we're going to get one of those runs where drivers start to migrate through the lines, and we see the side-by-side battles that the Chili Bowl is all about.
Well, we're already starting to see it for 2nd place. How about Cole Cabri, who's going to run into the back end of Tiernan? He sent it into the corner. Tiernan parks it on the entry, and past halfway, another caution comes out. Cole Cabri, not a ton of damage, but loses a ton of spots in that incident.
And I think that's both the Cabri brothers that now may be done for the day. At the very least, 3 confirmed retirements. Dylan Yeager, Chase Cabri, and Colton Key are done for the event. We'll see if Cole, in that number 13, will join Chase in the garage. Here's the look on board with him as he tried to just commit up high. Was very close to running into the back on quarter entry of that 2nd place machine, but just trying to push the issue, trying a little bit too much. And to be fair, the caution, if it had come out half a second later, he could have made an argument that it wasn't needed.
Yeah, he didn't hit really anything other than the back bumper of the car in front of Tiernan, but caution flag did come out. We set him up again for another restart, which these single file restarts, Arjuna, they're giving these drivers a little bit more opportunity to use some other lines as the green flag comes back out, lap 27.
Yeah, but it's also, I think, making us wonder in terms of fuel exactly how treacherous it may turn out to be. Back underway and nearing the halfway mark with Robles, Tiernan, and Rumsey the top 3. O'Neill's in 4th, Parmley's in 5th, and Uwe has taken advantage of some of these retirements and issues from those up front to be up into 6th spot. He's keeping himself in contention. If there's any drama in front of him, you are starting to see the line starting to migrate, but we're not really seeing close battles. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is in the heart of the pack, on board with Ethan Uwe, the defending champion, as in front of him Parmley tries to work his way past O'Neill.
On board with Ethan Uwe as Parmley and Neal still go side by side. Top 3 have single filed themselves out, but how about Logan Rumsey, another world championship competitor? He's up there racing as Uwe looks for a spot on Parmley. He'll try and go to the outside now as he just tried the inside. Now gonna try and look up top and see if any moisture exists up there that he can use to get that pass made.
top three still single file, and I do wonder if we're just seeing the track slowly rubbering in, and then we'll start to see the side-by-sides develop a little bit more as we near 20 laps to go. Parmley a little bit closer to O'Neal, but doesn't have the momentum, had more overlap, but still struggling, and as a result, slides up high and tries to set it up all over again. These are moves made, laps in the making. Caution back out though, and it'll slow it down. And Brody Kostecki clipped by Aiden Perdue behind as they had the flag come out and slowed the speeds. No major drama though, as I think this is the 7th caution of the night.
And I believe the incident was either around Reagan Edwards in the 21 or it directly involved the 21. It was kind of a mixture of both of them there, as he just ends up kind of stopped all the way up by the outside wall, and that brings out the yellow flag, being at a near stop right on the racing line like that. So that brings out caution flag number 7. There's the contact with Reagan Edwards. He gets up on 2 wheels, and then it's really right here that brings out the yellow flag. Send into the bottom from the 13, door slam, and right there, stopping on the outside of the racetrack. That's enough to bring out the caution by the automatic iRacing official system.
At the front of the field, it's not a man that we've had to talk too much about, but Rico Robles has led all but the very first lap of this race. He took the point after the slight mistake from Dylan Yeager on the start. Since then, has had to just mine through the cautions and keep focused. Rumsey had a look on Tiernan on the restart, has opened up him the potential for Austin O'Neal and Cody Parmley to try and slide their way on through. Hit 20 laps ago, this time by. Plenty of fighting still to go at the Chili Bowl Nationals.
Still over 20 laps left in this race, about 20 to be exact, 19 this time by, and Rico Robles has pulled away. 6/10 is that gap right now as he still tries to put a gap over Tiernan and Rumsey at the edge of the top 3. Ethan Uwe still trying to get himself into that top 5, and right now Arjuna, everybody is looking to the outside line for moisture, but how about Brody Kostecki? He's the first name that I see trying to use that inside line and use the moisture down there to his advantage, and it's working. Not quite as well as the outside line right now, but that could change as the outside line glosses over.
I am quite curious how much racing a dirt midget around the Chili Bowl compares to trying to wrangle a V8 supercar in the rain around somewhere like Adelaide. I'm sure there's actually more similarities than you'd really think about on first reflection. 15 laps ago, and Robles has built up a bit of a buffer at the front. It's about 8 car lengths as they charge right now. Tiernan and Rumsey and O'Neal are squabbling for the final steps of the podium. There is Brody Kostecki, who of course worked his way through the B main, started dead last here in the A main, now up to 11th as Jace Park tries to go the long way around. Kostecki's willingness to go down low seems to be hurting him right now.
It's hurting, but I don't dislike the idea. I think we might not have enough laps and enough running under the green flag to gloss over that outside line, but really it's all he can do right now. That's the only way that he can make passes on the racetrack right now, is looking to the low side. It might not be working, but at least right now he's holding strong in 12th. Doesn't look to be hurting him too much either.
To 10 laps to go. The gap at the front continues to grow. Rico Robles is dominating inside right now. Will not be concerned about what's happening behind unless the caution will come out once again. Traffic may be a factor as well, but hopefully not a major factor. There is your race leader, well and truly clear of the rest of him and the rest of the field. And just look at the body language of the car, Josh. Focus, not making mistake, driving within himself.
As much control as Rico Robles can hold over that car right now, he's going to do so. How about this 3-car battle with Uwe, Parmley, and O'Neal? It's the same story that we've seen since really the middle portion of this race, Arjuna, but Uwe has nowhere to go. Under 2 tires on the inside line. Major problems as Parmley loses 4 or 5 spots now on the track.
The only thing that will concern Robles again is the caution, and that was almost the moment that ignited it. Side by side for second, Logan Rumsey slides his way forward to the second step of the podium with 4 laps to go after this one. Robles well and truly clear, second and third clear of the field as well, but they're fighting hammer and tongs, 4th on back.
Rico Robles has a 2-second lead, hoping now that we stay green flag all the way to the end. We won't! There's the yellow flag! flag that comes out again, and I believe this one might have involved Josh Kosick in the 22. It did. We'll have a 2-lap shootout to finish this feature off, Arjuna, and here's the replay. Kosick to the outside wall, flips it over, and this could be the final yellow flag of the evening.
Calm your nerves. The 2020 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion has inserted himself into the equation behind the man that has led all but one lap of this race so far. I think we're going to get 2 laps to go. I'm not sure what will happen in terms of caution flags, but I think the one thing that we can guarantee, fireworks to finish this off.
This is going to be the definition of fireworks on a racetrack with only 2 laps to settle it as well. And how about Rico Robles facing right now in his rear view mirror Logan Rumsey, a world championship competitor, and you've mentioned his history at the Chili Bowl. This is going to be exciting.
2 laps, settle it. 53 to get here. You put yourself in position. What do you have left in the car? It's a great start at the front once again. Couple of car lengths clear. Robles controlling the point. Rumsey watches as Tiernan doesn't glide his way to the inside. One final lap for Rico Robles to hang on to what will be a historic victory in the iRacing Chili Bowls Nationals. Led all but 1 lap, survived the chaos and carnage of the cautions, did not let up, and Rico Robles closes out the year. The 2022 iRacing Chili Bowl Nationals champion. Take a bow for surviving what was the craziest night of the year.
What a race by Rico Robles. He did exactly what he needed to do from 3rd to 1st on the opening lap and has led ever since then. What a night for Rico Robles, and now solidifying himself as one of Dirt Oval's best.
What will the 2023 Dirt Oval scene look like? Well, maybe it involves Rico Robles towards the front. A historic victory with a 3rd different winner in as many years in this iRacing Chili Bowls Nationals. The 2022 crown goes the way of Rico Robles. Logan Rumsey and James Tiernan will round out the podium, with Austin O'Neill in 4th and the defending champion Ethan Uwe able to work his way to 5th in front of Noah Bowman, Aiden Purdue, Cody Palmley, JD Brown, and Noah Carpenter, the rest of the top 10. Brody Kostecki, his willingness to go to low gets him forward to 11th in front of Jace Park, Cole Cabry, Garrett Halsey, and then Regan Edwards. Before we get to those that suffered, the likes of Josh Kozak, Jet Barnes, Dylan Yeager, Chase Cabry, and Colton Key not making it to the end of the race. A frantic 90-odd minutes of racing, first with 6 heats, then through the alphabet soup before caution interrupted 55-lap feature saw Rico Robles dominate on his way to grab the checkered flag. Josh, closing thoughts, not just about this Chili Bowl Nationals, but on the entirety of the 2022 iRacing special events.
Well, I think tonight was really a culmination of all that we've seen in 2022 from the special events. From starting at Daytona, we go through all the 24-hour endurance races, and I think, Arjuna, this being the exact opposite of an endurance race. An endurance race, you have a ton of time to make moves, you have a ton of time to do whatever you need on the racetrack. Here you had very finite time, and 55 laps being the maximum that we raced tonight at 10 seconds per lap. Could have gotten this race done in under 10 minutes if we went green flag all the way to the end, but just what a night of racing, and what a night for Rico Robles to beat world championship competitors. And I think we're going to see Rico Robles in next year's qualifying series for hopefully the sprint cars and maybe even the late models as well, because I want to see more from that number 9 machine. I have not seen nearly enough Rico Robles when it comes to the Dirt Oval scene on iRacing, and I'm excited for 2023.
Absolutely agree with that, and hopefully we can get a few more Dirt Oval races here on RaceSpotTV. Let's have a quick look at what is announced to start off 2023 and the iRacing special events. More events to be announced soon, of course. All roads lead to Daytona to kick things off, the world center of racing. First, with the Roar Before the 24. 2.4 hours, drivers can complete this race solo, and it will be live on RaceSpotTV once more with fascinating classes to work our way through. Then we head over to the 24. The LMDH era is here, and the BMW MV8 Hybrid will roar around the Daytona International Speedway for 24 hours in a 3-class fight with LMV2s and GT3s in the mix as well. Then we go down under to the Bathurst 12 hours once again. It's going to be fascinating to see how that race plays out with just GT3 cars that have gotten a major overhaul a week ago before NASCAR gets the Great American Race and its virtual edition underway midway through February. And that's only the start of the calendar. There's a lot more still to come, Josh.
Of course, we're going to have special events all the way through 2023 with hopefully another Crandon Championship on a weekend that I'm not traveling, and hopefully more Knoxville Nationals, Chili Bowl, and more Dirt Road, more Dirt Oval. I think we need to get Linden Hill added to iRacing first at Chris Leone, and then 2, we need to have a Linden Hill Rallycross special event.
Where do I sign up for this?
I think you just need to direct email Chris Leone at this point.
Okay, so what you're saying is everyone needs to go to Twitter and at Chris Leone. It might be at Christopher Lyon actually on Twitter to make sure. So we can get Linden Hill in for 2023, of course. What a year it's been. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. That includes the iRacing special events for 2022. We started on the high banks, we've landed indoors, and we'll do it all again in 2023. For now, it's time to bid you farewell. On behalf of the entire team at iRacing, for our team at RaceSpotTV, Hugo Luis behind the scenes, Joshua Lee alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for your company over the course of 2022. We'll see you next year from Daytona to do it all over again. For now, happy holidays and enjoy the rest of 2022.